Well, it's a pretty nice day today. Figured I'd go ahead and do a quick walk around on the Unimog. So, this is a 1979 406 or U900, or I guess it's technically the Case MB4 94. The blower head is a Schmidt. It looks like it's a VS3 Charlie Hotel from 1984. This is kind of the Bellahack style blower. So it's got twin rotors, single stage, with an ice chopper in the center. So far it works pretty well. It's banged up in the front. It's definitely seen some battle before I got it. It's also been modified, as you can see down here on the bottom. There's a grater blade welded in, and it looks like I'm missing some sheet metal in here. I've got some of the blades are a little bent over and worn. You know, it's definitely had some rock hits. On the good side, the gearboxes didn't break, so hopefully this design is a little bit more resilient to rocks than some of the other ones. It's interesting. It uses a shear bolt. It gives you two spots you can put them, and then there's three ears in the back of each blower head that shear bolt can go into. And then it looks like they put a little keeper bolt there to keep the bolt fragments from going through the blower. And each one is set up very similarly. For now, I'm going to be using 1/2 inch, just grade 5 bolts, and I think probably what I'll end up doing is running a bandsaw around the edges just to kind of give it a little relief point, since I don't really have access to the proper shear bolts. I don't even know what the proper shear bolts would be. So just to err on the side of safety, I can replace 50-cent bolts all day long, and they're not too hard to replace on this machine. The gearboxes are very expensive and possibly unobtainium. So the way the blower works is you've got these two big drums. They're hydraulically actuated, so there's a ram buried in the snow down in here that will force this blower back and forth, and then same thing on the other side. The other drum rotates so you can run the snow out both drums to either side. And then the thing that I haven't hooked up yet is the center chute. The hydraulic line for the rotation ring is leaking, so I haven't bothered to hang the chute up on top, since I'm not able to use it right now. You can see all of my hydraulic lines are kind of in poor condition. This summer I plan on going through the entire blower head and replace every single line. You can see here's where they come in, and you can see down there in the snow I've got a little bit of leaking on the fittings and the lines themselves. So far it looks like the cylinders are pretty decent. I don't see a ton of leaking on the cylinders. So yeah, that's the blower head. The chute again goes up on top of this ring, and I'll show you that. That's laying in the snow over there. And it probably extends up another 6 or 7 feet at least. Coming here to the back, I threw a couple of grommets on there. It's got these nice quick little fittings, very military-esque. You know, just using grommets. So back here is the rear engine, and from the bit of research I've done, it looks like this is a 160 horse OM 352 Alpha, and that just denotes that it's the turbo version. and that's where you get the extra 60 horse over the one that's under the hood. It has a hydraulic reservoir up here. That hydraulic reservoir runs the, well, there's a pump here, and between the pump and the reservoir, that runs the hydraulics for the lifting of the front box, the rotation of the front chute, and the flapper valve on the front chute. All of that is run through this box over here. There's a bunch of solenoids and electro-activated hydraulic valves. So that sends all of your pressure everywhere it needs to go. The front cylinders, however, or the front drums, those are rotated off of the front hydraulic system on the Unimog itself. So it kind of uses a little bit of everything. It's the battery box is set up for 2 batteries. These batteries are undersized and they're 6-volt batteries. I don't know why the previous owner did that. Maybe he got a good price on them. But at some point I will be replacing the 2 6-volt batteries with 2 12-volt batteries. It is a 12-volt system. I just want the biggest batteries I can to turn this motor over when it's -15, -20 out here. Let's see, here on the back of the machine, this is the big drop box. That's apparently the large expensive piece that likes to break. Hopefully I have a line on a replacement. There's nothing wrong with this box, but I have an opportunity to get one local, and by local I mean here in Alaska, and I see no reason not to take the opportunity. I don't really have the money right now, but do what I have to do. This stuff's all going to be just really difficult to find if I ever break it. So buy it now and hopefully I'll never need it. So it has a manual transmission. I believe there's some kind of a blockout plate in there that prevents you from gaining access to the other gears. So right now it just has a lower gear and an upper gear, which I can't get into right now while it's off. And then I believe this is a 2-speed transfer case sitting back here, and this is shifted hydraulically or off of air. I'm not sure which. I guess this might be an air line. And that's shifted from the cab. Let's see, moving around to the other side. How all this comes down is you've got a small drive shaft. I'm not sure what these are. I don't know if this is a clutch or if this is some kind of a goofy disconnect that I've never seen before. There's a bolt in here and a corresponding bolt on the other side. I guess if anybody has seen these and know what these things are, it has a Z and a U stamped into the metal. But it's got to be either some kind of a clutching mechanism, maybe a big spring in there and a cam. I'm not really sure. But that runs up to that drive shaft. There's a slip yoke up there, and then a flange that bolts directly onto the gearbox for the blower. And then again, it's all crusted in snow, but there's a big gearbox in here. I'm assuming there's some big bull gears in there, and that runs the actual blower head and gets you the correct gear ratios for everything. And then it's got these transport bars as well. So when you lift the blower up, you can swing this over to this pivot point over here and pin it in place and take all of the pressure off of the hydraulic cylinders. In order to take the blower off, there's a big bolt here. You back this bolt out on both sides, and the entire frame is just resting on the front mount of the Unimog. Sorry, everything's covered in ice and snow right now, and I probably should have chipped that out. You know, once the weather warms up, we can I can actually show you how all that goes together. But effectively, it just sits on the standard Case Unimog front plate, and then there's a whole bunch of hydraulic lines that are all just quick connected in. The blower has its own fuel supply for the rear engine, own batteries for the rear engine, so everything is isolated, which is kind of nice. So 150 liter diesel tank back here that I'll probably never be able to afford to fill. The cab itself seems like it's in pretty good shape. I've got a little bit of rot up in that that timber right there, but otherwise everything's in real good shape. Oh, here's a question. So for hydraulic fittings, everything seems to share this connector, and I don't know what this is, but I need to have a bunch of hydraulic lines made, and it would be handy to know what hydraulic connector that is, and what I can do to you know, so that I can order them up. The quick connects just go on the end of that, and I think I can reuse all of my quick connects, or most of them at least. So I just need to order various lines in I don't know, a 3/4 inch or a 1/2 inch line with that connector on it. Another thing, I'm running hydraulic oil right now in the rear tank. However, it says ATF, so more than likely it's got the wrong oil in it, and that might account for why some of the actuators seem like they run a little bit slow. I don't know. I'll probably swap it over to ATF. It should work better in the cold, but I'll make that change once I've got all the lines fixed and working correctly. There's no sense in switching over to another type of oil while I'm still leaking everything. See, we'll come up here to the cab. This was at the 1980 Winter Olympics. This is one of the Case trucks that was shipped there for snow removal. I don't remember how many there were. I want to say it was 24 or 30, something like that. So this is my little comms box for my headsets, and again, I can run you guys through how that works on another video. This fan needs to be replaced. Definitely a valuable thing to have, but it's not working, and I need some kind of a better heating system in here. The heat doesn't work. The blower fan isn't working. I imagine even once it is working, it's probably still not really going to be up to par. So I'll end up adding either a little S-bar or one of those Chinese diesel heaters, unless somebody wants to donate one of those cool OEM ones. Unfortunately, my truck didn't come with one. So we'll come around to the other side. The truck's in pretty good condition. You know, I think it spent a fair amount of time outside, but like the back of the cab isn't all rusted out. So I guess that's a really common area that they like to go. So coming up here into the cab, this is the box for my rear engine, rear blower controls. Pretty self-explanatory: temp, RPM, fuel, and then an electric stop. It's weird. It seems like it's wired up backwards from what I'm used to. So when you hit the button, it appears to energize a solenoid that actually kills the fuel to the injection pump and turns it off. How I know that is I had this key in the off position, and the starter has actually been relocated down here. So I had the key in the off position, but the starter is still engaged. You can hear I just tried to turn the motor over a little bit, and it fired up just fine. So the solenoid appears to shut the fuel off, rather than when the solenoid's energized, it allows the fuel to be on, and then when you turn the key, everything turns off. So not a big deal, just backwards from what I was expecting. And then these are the controls for the chutes. Apparently this is the same controller for the various other blowers, so the VF3C, the VS3C, and the VF3L. Pretty basic. It just it allows you to control where the hydraulic fluid's going and move the box up and down. You can move each corner independently, so if you're on a slope, you can level the box or vice versa. And then it's got buttons for moving the rotation ring for the front chute and the flapper valve for the front chute. Hours are pretty low. The hour meters do work. I've got I don't know if you can see that, 409 hours on the engine. Yeah, so really not many for a commercial machine, and hopefully if I keep the oil changed and keep on the maintenance, then you know I won't have to mess with that stuff. The heater's down here, and I can feel heat coming out of the core. There's some kind of a valve here, you know, probably a flow control valve, and a little shutter for changing where the air's coming out, but the fan's not coming on. So it could just be something with goofy wiring from other people getting in there and adding things or subtracting things. My guess is probably every hour of this machine's life that blower's been blowing, and most likely the motor's just burned out. So I'll have to find a motor that will work. It's got the 20-speed transmission, and for non-Unimog aficionados, this is your four-wheel drive switch. This is air actuated. It actuates a big air piston down here that actually shifts the transmission into four-wheel drive. Mine is not working, so I made this weird little curved piece of metal that goes back there and holds the pin, and then I have a bungee cord stretch to pull tension on it so it doesn't pop out of gear. That's a temporary fix until this summer, when I can get the cab tilted and get to that cylinder and find out why the air is not working, or why that cylinder is not moving back and forth. I think the previous owner said something about the pin popped out. So it could just be as simple as put it back where it goes and lube it up and see how it goes. This thing has a few air leaks, so I'm never really getting the full PSI in the air system anyways, so that could be something. However, the diffs do appear to be locking. This also controls the diff locks. So forward is rear-wheel drive only, middle position is four-wheel drive, and then the rear position is four-wheel drive with both of the diffs locked. This lever here is for the PTOs, so for the front and rear PTO system. Haven't needed it because I'm running the blowers off of the bigger engine. This guy is your high-low. I have been using this quite a bit, and using the low range for blowing snow. I haven't really used the crawler box that much. I've played with it a little bit, and you know, those gears are awfully low. There's definitely times when I'll need it, but it's actually done okay with just going into the low range on the box. This white lever, I believe, is for, well, it's for hydraulics, but I don't honestly know exactly what hydraulics it's doing. I think it's for the rear hydraulics, for the rear hydraulic system, which doesn't appear to do anything on this truck right now. I don't think it's there. There's a tank there under the bed, but I don't think that's using the hydraulic system for anything. So I'll have to investigate that more at some point, but right now I don't need it, so I keep it in the out position for roading the machine. And there's a little sticker that says white lever out for roading, so that's where I keep it. This is your main gear shifter, standard H pattern, 6-speed. However, it's got a bunch of goofy gates in it, so maybe it's not exactly standard. Here's your shift pattern. So, you know, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And there's a gate in between, and that gate's important because it will not let you put this transmission into reverse in third, fourth, fifth, or sixth. This is your forward and reverse lever, no neutral in between, so it's just all the way forward or all the way reverse. And then lastly, this is the shifter for the crawler box. This puts it, you can go into low, neutral, crawler, or super crawler, which is all the way forward and up into the corner. And then there's a little chart here that kind of gives what each mode would be and then what the miles per hour would be. And, you know, so in 6th gear, this thing will do 41.2 miles an hour, probably with the tire size that's on it right now. And then in super crawler first, it'll do 0.07 miles per hour. So, you know, you're talking about a couple hundred feet per hour, and at that rate, you know, get out of the truck, go make a sandwich, come back, and the truck really wouldn't have gone too far. So, yeah, that's kind of the Unimog. You know, the headliner is sagging a little bit. It's probably had some water come in through the top vent, but nothing too bad. Really, it's in pretty good condition. Just lots of little things that I'm going to have to fix. It has heat traces built into the windshield. I'd like to try to get those working to assist with the defrost. You know, I'd like to seal up the mat down here so that I'm not getting exhaust and you know, just engine smells coming up through the bottom. I am a little bit. Most of it was because I had an exhaust leak from the stack in the back. This truck has a little bit different exhaust system than a standard Unimog because it's a snowblower unit. So the exhaust comes down around the air tank and then just goes straight up to a vertical stack. And I'm missing my battery box cover as well. I don't know if it fell off during shipping or what happened, but it's missing one. And then these hydraulic ports here, these are all the quick disconnects for the hydraulic system for the rear. And then same thing, that white connector, there's a electrical connector that goes up into the underside of the cab. So it seems like they set it up so you could take the box, the rear blower box, off and use the truck for other things relatively easily. From what I can tell, it's only held on by these two big bolts. Given it's a really, really big bolt, but there's only the two, and then there's just kind of a hook system in the back. So we'll see if I get to the point of taking the motor off the back or not. That'll I don't know. I'd like to, but it's a lot of work, and I don't have the ability to do it right now. I'll have to build an A-frame or something in order to lift that up. An upcoming project is going to be adding airbags. I don't have the dual coil front springs, and I think there was some kind of a bump stop or something there. My plan is, since the frame is right there and there's a nice open spot on the axle, I'm just going to build some little brackets and throw two small airbags up in the front, and that way I can get the front suspension up higher and get the box off the ground. Right now, when the box is up, the springs are almost completely compressed, and I can only really get the box about an inch or two off the ground, and that's just not enough clearance. As soon as you start bouncing around, the box hits. So yeah, that's kind of a walkthrough of the Unimog. I'll try to do more videos as I progress, as I do things on it. They're calling for 7 inches of snow, maybe tonight and tomorrow, so I might be out here running this thing tomorrow. If so, I'll try to get a video. Oh, another thing that I'm gonna go through. Yeah, there's some surface rust on the snorkel. I'll fix all that this summer. All of the lights, they're pretty cool looking, you know, the old school off-road lights. I'm gonna stick with the look, but I'm gonna replace all of that with modern LEDs. you know, I kind of like the nostalgic idea of keeping the old lights, but this is a work machine for me, and there's never enough lighting, especially up here in Alaska. So yeah, those are all going to get replaced with LEDs. Maybe I'll stick with round LEDs just to kind of keep the look of it, but it's going to get additional lighting. And then there's kind of a cool, it's not hooked up right now, but there's a neat halogen light up here in the front of the blower. I would really like to get that thing working, or at least a light working in here. I don't know. I'm not going to use that one, but what I have is over here on my wife's 4Runner. I've got these really cool 4-row LEDs, and they've got a spotlight and a floodlight pattern in them, and they look like they're just about the right size for that. I think they actually make a slightly smaller one than this, and maybe that's what I'll put in there. But these are the lights I put in her car, and these have been just fantastic. Those two lights easily put out as much light as the nice bar on my little truck. So, anyways, that's the story there on the Unimog, and thanks for watching.